Very good, very good morning, students. Here I am going to teach you our seventh chapter, soils. Okay. So here in earlier video, I have taught you just in short, but in this video I am going to tell you or teach you in detail. So let's recall what are the different constitution of soil. So here we can say air is 25%, mineral particles is 45%, water is 25%, organic matter is 5%, and in that organic matter we can include organism roots, humus, like this. Okay, so what are the different constituents of soil? Air, mineral particles, water, organic matter, and in that organic matter roots, humus, and organism. From where do the abiotic factors become available for the soil formation? So rock means different type of rock. From the different type of rock we can get the abiotic factors, okay, for the soil formation. And in this chapter, which factors are necessary for soil formation, and in earlier video I have taught you first one is parent rock, and that the parent rock in the region as an important factor in the soil formation. So depending on the hardness of the rock, how hard the rock is, so and the climate of the region, the rock gets weathered. The rock gets weathered. So the rock turns into powdery materials, which further turns into earthy material. So for example, the basalt rock of the Deccan Plateau in Maharashtra turns into black soil after weathering. So this soil is also referred as regal soil. Rocks like granite or gneiss in South India give rise to red soil. So we can see parent rock, how it's formed. So which factors depend or are important for this? So depending on the hardness of the rock and the climate of the region, that affects more, and the rock gets weathered and then it turns into powdery material. So how the basalt rocks formed? So in the Deccan Plateau in Maharashtra, it turns into black soils, but after weathering, sorry, turns into black soil after weathering. But this soil is also referred as a regal soil, which you can see in the Deccan Plateau in Maharashtra. That soil is also referred as a regal soil, and rocks like granite or gneiss in South India gives rise to red soils. So these factors, first one is regional climate. This is also an important factor influencing soil formation. So weathering the rock is the first step in the process of soil formation that I have already explained in the earlier video. So the process of weathering depends on the climate of the region. The climate decides the intensity of weathering. That is why one and the same type of rock gives rise to the different type of soil when the rock is exposed to different climates. And in the dry climate of Deccan Plateau, weathering of basalt leads to the formation of black soil. Weathering of basalt leads to the formation of black soil, whereas in the humid climate in the western Sahyadris, the leaching, okay, leaching Leaching means chemicals, that chemicals in the soil to be removed from the soil by liquid passing through it. Okay, so the climate decide the intensity of weathering. That is why one and the same type of rock gives rise to different, means that one type of rock gives rise to different type of soils, but rock is one, but it gives rise to different types of soils. Okay, that just underline this. When the rock is exposed to different climates, that rock is exploded in different climates, means climate is an important factor for the formation of soil. And when the rock is exposed in a different climate, in the dry climate, so let we learn about what happened in the dry climate of Deccan Plateau. And in the Deccan Plateau the climate is dry, so weathering of basalt leads to the formation of the black soil. And in the dry climate of the climate of Deccan Plateau, weathering of basalt leads to the formation of black soil, and it leads to the formation of black soils. Whereas in the humid climate, and it first the climate was dry, so it leads to the best weathering, it leads to the formation of black soil. But in the humid climate in the western Sahyadris, the leaching of the same basalt rocks, the rock is same in both places. First one is also basalt rock, but the climate was dry and it leads to the formation of black soil. But in western Sahyadris, same basalt rock leads to the formation of lateritic soils. First, in dry climate it becomes black soils, but in Sahyadris the climate is humid and it leads to the formation of lateritic soil. Okay, so this is the difference of climate. Okay, biotic material, the weathering of rocks turns them into the powdery material, but this powdery material is not soil. That to turn such powdery material into soil, it is necessary that biotic material gets mixed into it. The biotic material comes from the decomposition of the remains of the plants. But how it decomposes? It decomposes the remains of the plants, dead plants. No, you must have learned in the science chapters. So that remains of the plants and animals in that region, the vegetal letters, roots of plants, remains of animals, etc., that get decomposed due to water. No, and it get decomposed due to water. So microorganisms and certain other organisms help decompose the dead remains of organic materials. The biotic material thus produced get mixed into the soil and is called humus. Okay, it becomes humus if the proportion of humus in the soil is greater. If the proportion, just underline this line, the biotic material thus produced get mixed into the soil and is called humus. This is the definition of humus. And if the proportion of humus in the soil is greater, the soil become fertile, means the quantity of and the proportion of humus is in the soil is greater, the soil becomes fertile, more fertile. The process of decomposition by living organisms take place continuously. Nowadays, production of vermicompost means process of decomposition. In that process, various species of worms and other the kind of organism used, and the process is called as vermicompost. It's undertaken on a large scale to make soil more fertile. Try to understand the process of producing vermicompost or compost. So for you there is a short not activity, just gather and collect the information on a Google what is vermicompost and what is compost, so you will get more information about it. So production of compost needs sufficient period of time. It needs sufficient period of time and elements like organic waste, water, heat, etc. So these factors are important for production of compost. Sufficient period of time, elements like organic waste, water, heat, etc. So Here next factor is time. And the soil formation is a natural and slow process. It's a natural but slow process. It needs a very long period of time to form a 2.5 centimeter thick layer of topsoil. It takes thousands of years. From this, you may understand that soil are invaluable. In the region of high rainfall and higher temperature, the process of soil formation is faster. Where just underline this line, in the region of high rainfall, where there is a high rainfall and higher temperature, the process of soil formation is faster, but comparatively in the region of low temperature and low rainfall, the soil formation takes more time. So it needs high rainfall and higher temperature. Humans use the soil gifted by nature as a resource. It is mainly used for agricultural purpose. We all know we use soil basically and mainly used for agricultural purpose for getting higher productions. Different types of chemical fertilizers, insectica, intense, sorry, insecticides and are used profusely. However, this leads to the degradations of soils. Degradations means to make value or grade of soil lesser or doesn't mean soil. So soil contains the powdered form of weathered rock, partially or completely decomposed organic material and innumerable microorganisms. Interactions between biotic and abiotic components in the soil go on continuously. Plants get nutrition required for their growth from the soils. Soil is a complete ecosystem. Earth is also a substance. The potter uses it as raw material. A farmer uses soil as an ecosystem. So, here we can see soil contains the powdered form of weathered rock, partially or completely, and decomposed organic material and innumerable microorganism. Interaction between biotic and abiotic components. Interaction between biotic and abiotic components in the soil go on continuously. It is a process and plants get required nutrition from their growth from the soil. Okay, here for you an activity. Take 3 flower pots of the same size. Keep one pot empty. Fill the second pot with water. First pot is empty. Fill the second pot with water after closing the hole at the bottom. After closing the hole at the bottom, and third pot with soil. Put a few seeds in all them. You may use peas, gram, fenugreek, wheat, green, gram, coriander seeds, etc. And keep all 3 pots in the sun and water. The empty pot and the soil. Keep all 3 pots in the sun and water the empty pot and the soil filled pot for 4-5 days. So you have to observe and just observe this. What will happen to the seeds put in the empty pot and pot filled with water? What happened to the seeds put in the what happened to the seeds which you put in the pot filled with soil? What do you learn from this? So for growing a plant, sunlight is required, soil is required, fertilizer is required, and seeds is required. So if one pot is not getting proper water or soil, so it will not grow. Okay, but which pot has a good kind of good kind of soil as well as water, seeds, and gets a good sun rays and that water you will see has grown up. Okay, so here an important components of the living world on the earth is plants, and for the production and growth of plants soil is indispensable. They provide support to plants. Okay, soil provides supports to plants. Vegetation is abundant in the regions that have fertile soils. The equatorial regions, however, in the areas where the soils are not fertile, vegetation is scanty. Scanty means too small in size or amount, where in the equatorial regions, however, in the areas where the soils are not fertile, vegetation is scanty, means in desert. Okay, vegetation is very scanty in a less amount. So, for example, desert, and where there is a shortage of soil, vegetation is not seen, means in the polar areas. In the polar area, you can see vegetation is not seen. Though favorable climate, availability of abundant water and sunlight are necessary for the growth of plants. So, whatever you have planted, what the things required, climate, availability of abundant water and sunlight are necessary for the growth of plants. So, these alone are not sufficient. Fertile soils favor plant growth, and these factors are important. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you.